to another episode of Throwing the Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ died and he rose again. Let's get hit into it. So I saw a article by Basketball Network where Charles Barkley was talking about how much he loved the Detroit Pistons switching from a offensive identity to a defensive identity. Okay. So in 1980, so from 1983 to 1987, Isiah was averaging 21.3 points per game. Okay. And so Barkley had this to say. He said, when Isiah was up there in scoring, they went from an all-offensive team to a defensive team. When they had their offensive team with Isiah, Tripucka, John Long, those guys, that's when Isiah had those crazy handles. Chuck said on a episode of Open Court, which was probably years ago, but it always amazes me how that team went from all offensive, trying to outscore, to becoming a defensive juggernaut. Okay. So I went back and looked at those early Pistons teams when Isiah got hot there. Drafted in 1981. Okay. And this is when they were still growing. This is when they only had Isiah, Bill Laimbeer, and Vinnie Johnson also came in, made it way through the 81-82 season. Okay. So, I want to start at 1984, okay? When Chuck Daly first came in. In 1984, and this is offensively. In 1984, they averaged 117 points per game, okay? And their offensive rating was first at 111.5, okay? And if you remember, they had the highest scoring game in NBA history. The highest scoring game in NBA history when they defeated the Denver Nuggets 186-184. I'm going to say that again. When they defeated the Denver Nuggets 186-184. Okay? And here's the thing about that. There was only a crowd of like 9,000 people there to see the game at McNichols Sports Arena. Okay? 186-184, the Pistons defeated the Nuggets in the highest scoring game in NBA history. Okay? Just some stats. Isiah Thomas had 47 points that game. Bill Laimbeer had 17. John Long had 41. Kelly Tripucka had 35. Terry Tyler had 18. Vinnie Johnson had 12. Okay, so those were the double-figure scores for the Pistons. The Nuggets, on the other hand, were led by Kiki Vandeweghe, who scored 51 points. Alex English had 47. Dan Issel had 28. Mike Evans had 16. Danny Shays had 11. And Richard Anderson had 13. Okay. So, in 1985, the Pistons, they averaged 116 points per game, which was third in the league. In 1986, they averaged 114 points per game, seventh in the league. In 1987, 111 points per game, which ranked 8th. 1988, 109.2 points per game. Okay? So from 1984 to 1988, they were in the top 10 in scoring in the league. But then it was around 1987 when they began to shift to a defensive identity, okay? And Isiah Thomas talked about this. He said because the Pistons, when they were an offensive team, they had 3 straight first round exits, or 3 straight early exits in the playoffs. 1984, they lost to the Knicks in the first round. 1985, they did make it past the first round, but lost to the Celtics in the conference semifinals. Then in 1986, they lose to Atlanta in the first round. Okay. So this is when the Pistons were an all offensive team. So Isiah Thomas talked about it. He said, we replaced Tripucka and Kent Benson, okay? With Dantley, Sally, Rodman, and Mahorn. Then you got Dumars. Then your team takes off. And that's when they bought in, those are the players who bought in a physical defensive mentality, okay? Dumars drafted in 85. Sally and Rodman came along in the 86 draft. Adrian Dantley was traded for. Rick Mahorn came in as a free agent in 1985. Rick Mahorn admitted that he did not want to come to Detroit, okay? Rick Mahorn said, I did not want to come here. So I didn't work out the entire summer. So when they acquired him in 1985, Rick Mahorn was like, I did not want to come here, so I didn't work out the entire summer. And so, yeah. So, in 1989, this is when they were fully a defensive team back then. They finished 16th in scoring, 106 points per game. 1990, they finished 19th, 104 3 points per game. 1990, 104 points per game. 1991, 100 points per game, which ranked 24th. Okay, so that was the offensive. Those were the offensive numbers for the Pistons. For the time Chuck Daly got there. On up until 1991. Now, also have their defensive averages too. So in 1984, defensively, they allowed 113 points per game, which ranked 18th. 1985, same thing, 18th. 1986, 113 points per game, 15th. And again, they started to shift to a defensive identity around 1987. They were averaging 107. They were allowing 107 points per game, which ranked 10th in the league. Then in 1988, 104 points per game. Third, 1989, 100 points. Second, then for 3 straight years, they ranked first. Okay, 1990, 98.3, 1991, 96.8, 1992, 96.9. They finished first in all 3 years, 1990, 91, and 92. Okay, yeah. So yeah, those were, yeah, so just thought I would go back and see how much of an offensive team they were, and they did have some players. Tripucka, John Long, Isiah, of course. Bill Laimbeer, he could score. Yeah, yeah. I remember Isiah Thomas saying this about Larry Bird. He said, saying this about Larry Bird when the Celtics first faced the Pistons in the playoffs in 1985. Isiah Thomas said, every time Bird touched the ball, we were scared. Okay? As a matter of fact, one of Isiah Thomas's family members named his jump shot Silent Death. Okay. Yeah. One of Isiah Thomas's family members named Larry Bird's jump shot Silent Death. Okay. So, yeah. All right. That's it. And that's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell.